right in
Oh,
front of me, and yeah, I popped the cork, bro.
well,
Yeah, well,
that's
yeah,
good. You have to let us know what happened.
I'm gonna tell the story. Well, I can just start now. He went and told the referee. It was I think it was a side judge, and I got on him about a bogus call, and then he didn't call the same penalty the other way for us. So I jumped on him, dude, and he went and told the referee. He described me like the guy with this. He was just doing the strikes on his. My wife thought that was so fun. Then the white hat turned around, and I'm like, "Come on, you can get some too." So
Yeah,
I
Carl
was
Sheffers.
foaming.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was foaming at the mouth, dude.
yeah. I don't blame you.
Oh
Wow,
yeah,
that's
that
good
was funny,
stuff.
man.
Well, we'll hear more about that when we get there. We'll go through quickly the. I got 3 o'clock, so we'll roll it. But we got. We'll go through the games quickly that didn't really
Yeah,
matter much.
matter. Yeah,
Get ready to week 19. So, all right, let's roll this puppy.
let's do it, baby.
Game day, baby! Let's go!
Welcome everyone to NFL Nation Live, our Week 19 show. Regular season is done. We're ready for the playoffs. Some of the other teams are
playoffs, playoffs,
But we'll
playoffs. We
Yeah,
didn't do diddly poo for the playoffs.
playoffs. We'll get you close the books on the regular season, Week 18. Get you ready for Week 19. Not a lot of surprises there, but maybe one or two. Sort as the Vikings didn't bother to show up for that. But I think you heard here that they probably would not. In any case, Cap's liquored up, ready to go. I'm ready to go. Almost liquored up, 57. Are you ready to go?
Got my voice back. Let's hit it.
Yeah. Why? Did you lose it yelling at the officials or something?
We'll talk about it.
Indeed, we will. All right, welcome everyone to NFL Nation Live, our Week 19 show. Ref Guru, along with the game day cover man himself, the Hall of Famer, Wayne Violator Mabry, and everybody's favorite legendary pirate, Captain Jack. Welcome everyone. Let's get the books closed on the regular season. Cleveland went to Baltimore, got beat by the Ravens. Not a surprise there. 25-point beat down by Baltimore. They took care of business there, won the division, which essentially meant the game later between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. It meant nothing. But the Ravens now division title on their way to the playoffs, guys. Ravens look pretty good.
These guys are focused on not letting the opportunity that they had in previous years slip away. I think they're like locked on this time.
It seems like maybe they are in a Michigan Wildcats kind of way. So we'll see what happens there. But the follow-up game, what was that, Cap?
I just what?
He heard
I
Wildcat.
know. Yeah, Wildcats. Yeah. I'm trying to get my chat going here. I was late getting out of hair and makeup for the show, so I had to get it. All right. So the game after that, Bengals at Pittsburgh meant nothing except for the fact, the Bengals just won in a squeaker. They got it done. Of course, then Denver won, putting the Bengals out of the playoffs. But this is a Steelers team, guys, that they're limping into the playoffs. Is probably the best way to put it.
Shit, they'd have to improve to limp. They don't even have the use of my scooter. By the way, Wayne, did you see my scooter?
That's a nice whip you got there, brother. Hey, nicely done. Nicely done.
I tell you, it beats the hell out of trying to find an Uber from your hotel to the Mandalay, because I just take that bubba and zoom. Anyway, but getting back to Ethan, like I said, they would have to improve just to even attempt to buy a scooter. They're beyond limping. They're like the guy. Was it the guy who has no arms and no legs and is in the ocean? His name is Bob.
Mm-hmm. Bobby.
Yeah.
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 Bobby. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Well,
saw him
yeah.
once or twice.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, the Steelers probably one and done. We predicted that way back like in week 6 or something. But the story there, is going to turn. We'll get to it, but the story there is going to turn towards the Raiders because the Raiders, the rumor, there's a lot of rumors out there, blah blah blah. But one of them is that they're looking for an experienced coach. Another one out there is Tomlin gets beat by Baltimore. He might be available, so that would make things interesting in the coaching carousel for the Raiders. And we'll get to all that when we get to all that. Atlanta with a chance to make a move on the faux Pirates, didn't get it done. The Panthers guys gave up a late touchdown, and I mean literally just let Atlanta walk in for the touchdown to tie the game and needed overtime to get it done. But the Panthers got the ball, drove it down, got the touchdown. And all of a sudden, Falcons are on the clock.
Listen, that young QB, like I say, he's really maturing in front of us.
It seems like it.
Somebody hit a switch because now he's more dialed in than I've seen. He looks like the QB that he was playing like at Alabama there.
Yeah, and indeed, Ed, welcome to the show. Definitely prayers for everybody in LA, and welcome, Daniel. Yeah, I mean, nobody wants a season to be 34 games long, but if it were 34 games long, you kind of wonder what would happen in the NFC South with the way the Panthers finished the season, right? They seem to be, kind of coming into their own at that point.
Yeah, but remember, I'm going to turn it into a we thing. Remember how we finished last year and everybody was on that high?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's nice to go into the end of the season with some momentum and chest pounding,
but it doesn't last 6 months.
Right. And you need to make sure it continues.
Yeah,
it continues.
Yeah,
onward. Oop.
Yeah. Okay, your pizza's here.
Yeah.
No. I got a new smartwatch that goes with my phone. It's really cool. Sorry.
Wow, a new smartwatch. Wow. Well, you need all the help you can get, so I'm glad it's not a dumb watch.
Yeah,
the Commodores went into Dallas, took care of business and beat the Cowboys. There'll be all kinds of talk now about Mike McCarthy's future, but Jerry Jones denied Mike McCarthy the opportunity to go interview with the Chicago Bears. So he seems to be protecting a little bit of his property down there in Texas. What do you think?
Listen, does he really want him there or not?
Well, he could have let him go to the Bears, sort of.
No, I think he's playing him as a how bad do you want him?
Do you want him, right? Carrot dangling, yeah.
Okay.
Dangling a carrot.
Well, when you start looking at the Raiders and the coaching watch, there's some names out there. We'll get to that. The Bears went into Green Bay. You guys beat the Packers at Lambeau. This was ugly. The Packers just didn't get it done, and they didn't have to get it done. But I think one of the things that they were hoping for, which probably wouldn't have turned out that way, even if they had beaten the Bears, was to not have to go to Philadelphia, play the Eagles. They got beat by the Bears. Now they got to go to Philadelphia, play the Eagles. But this is a Chicago team, man. You'd think they'd won the Super Bowl. I realize it's the Packers, and they beat them in Green Bay. So that's another, Panthers beat the Falcons in Atlanta kind of thing. But, man, when you talk about the fact that the Panthers ended on a good note with no place to go, the Packers ended with a loss with some place to go. And maybe they didn't care. I don't know, but they didn't want to get a bunch of people hurt. But I don't know. I think they would have matched up a lot better with LA or Tampa Bay. Of course, that would have mattered based on the way the other games went. But anyway, they're going to go to Philadelphia. They got beat by the Bears. I'm not sure Jordan Love's ever going to own the Bears like Aaron Rodgers did.
There you go. And I was going to say, that's about the championship belt. So the Chicago Bears got the flex in their backyard, and that's what they were so jubilant about,
Yep.
The best thing about the Bears is that you figure out that they say that is the destination that all these coaches are going to be aspiring for. Now, did
really?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's a lot of cheddar. Yeah.
Chicago?
Hello, McFly. Is anybody in there? Okay.
No, apparently not. Why would you want to go to Chicago? I've been to Chicago. It's not that great.
Well, because
it's okay, but
you got Caleb Williams and you got some receivers to throw to. You got nothing but upbuild to go because at least you got a franchise quarterback.
Really? Do you
That
think
part.
Caleb Williams is a
I,
franchise quarterback?
I said, man, you better get that gunk out of your ears. I said allegedly, okay. And if you know, and again, Matt Marinovich said it right there. Kingsbury, that's who he wanted. So if
Yeah.
he wants to,
Yeah.
if he wants to balk out and go get the guy he waited for in the draft that didn't get,
Yeah.
and he did yeoman's effort in getting Jaden Daniels as a rookie of the year candidate. You don't think that he would want to go to Chicago?
Well, there's that. That's all really good analysis, and that's maybe a thing. I know there's going to be Raiders questions in the chat. We'll accommodate you here in a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk a little bit Raiders. That's a good point though, Cap. So we'll see how things end up in Chicago. They got a lot of competition though. I mean, the Vikings will probably have some transition. They may or may not keep their head coach. They may or may not keep Sam Darnold. And who knows what changes will happen with the Lions. I think the Packers probably don't have a lot of change. So if the Bears want to move up, now's their chance to do it. If some of the other teams in the division are going to have some changes, either personnel wise or whatever. I just Minnesota's not going to go 14-2 again next year. They're just not that good. Where are we? Oh yeah, Jacksonville and Indianapolis got beat by the Colts. No big deal there.
Saw that one coming.
Yeah, pretty much everybody did. I'll tell you what though, Buffalo went into New England, didn't play any of their starters. I don't think, got beat by the Belichicks. Kind of a bummer that they lost a division game on the road to end the season, but it didn't really matter. They're the number 2 seed no matter what. Now they're going to, put all their stuff in the laundry with a couple cups of Tide to get the grass stains off of it and get ready to play Denver this week. The bummer here really was at the end of it is all over. Gerard Mayo's out, one and done with New England.
Right.
And I have more of a pain about that.
Let's hear it.
Okay. Gerard Mayo was not an interim last year, had the whole year, was set up for failure in New England. I think it was a placeholder type of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think I think that he was given short shrift. Now, if you ask me about the same thing about a certain coach that that coached the Raiders, no, it's apples and oranges because he was an interim. AP was an interim last year. And he had this year, he didn't have a lot of things to work with, but Mayo only had 1 year. And I think that they did screw Mayo. I don't feel the same that they screwed AP. So there's my opinion there in a nutshell. I mean, he had a bad team, but they got things to build with as well, with their quarterback. And it's a great. I don't want to be in Boston or New England or Rhode Island in the dead of winter, any place. But if you have that coaching position available, there's only 32 of them, and if you don't get one, you get another.
I don't disagree with any of that, although I would say that, I just think that the expectations and the bar is so high in New England. I think it'd be difficult for anybody to go in there and even respectively come away with, being able to hold their head high. The Patriots could have won 8 or 9 games, 10 games, maybe. That still wouldn't have been enough for Robert Kraft, but it would have been enough maybe for him to keep his job. But I think the problem that I had with the Patriots in general, and this may or may not be a reflection on the head coach, they didn't play Patriots football. They turned the ball over. They weren't scoring a lot of points. They weren't, doing ball control. They didn't know how to manage the clock. They didn't do all the little things that seem to be part of what the Patriots frustrated other teams like ourselves, because they did a really good job at it. They knew the rules. They knew what you could do or not do with the loose football. They knew, when they could do a drop kick and when they can't. They knew all of this stuff that drove other teams crazy, and this Patriots team just seemed to kind of let go of all that.
And Doc is a Patriots fan, and I say Patriots because he's what the Patriot fan when Steve effing Grogan and Jim effing Plunkett was their quarterback. So lots of respect to Doc.
Wow, well, Plunkett goes all the way back to the 70s. So
exactly.
Yeah.
The thing is that with the Patriots, again, they have those high expectations, but they didn't really have that good of a team.
Yeah.
But then you go into X's and O's, okay? X's and O's, I think Mayo did a better job of X's and O's and Doc will probably, who watches Patriots game, be better on this. I think that he was a better X's and O's guys. Then again, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it because he's there. AP, and that's where AP didn't get the he was inexperienced. I think Mayo got shafted.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. But it is an interesting situation there from that standpoint. But I'll tell you what, though, that 76 Patriots team was pretty darn good.
Oh yeah, scrappy.
And if it's not for a call on Sugar Bear Hamilton on Stabler's head, they probably move on in 76 playoffs. So that was a good. That 76 team was a good Patriots team. They beat us during the regular season 48-17.
Right.
So in New England, but and then they gave us hell in the playoffs. So that was a good Chuck Fairbanks team.
Hey, the best thing about a Raiders-Patriots game is Matt Millen going and clocking the owner's kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was there for that one.
Got to watch out for 55. The New York Giants went into Philadelphia, got beat by the Eagles. Not a lot to say there. This is an Eagles team, though, that, got some question marks with guys coming into, they're going to play the Packers. The Packers are going to give you a ball game. If the Eagles aren't ready to play, Barkley is not enough to win that all by himself. So the Eagles are going to have to play at least their A- game, if not their B+ game against the Packers in order to win that. But the Eagles got the win and the number two seed.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think the disappointing.
It's 2. Tampa Bay's 3. Yeah.
The takeaway from that game was them shelving Barkley and not letting him try to
get the rushing title.
Get the rushing title. And I guess the head coach was like, "Look, we're gonna save you because we need you bad."
And you know what? Hold on, Cap, because I want to hear what you got to say. But you're right, V. And the thing that bothers me is that I'm listening to Sirianni at his press conference. Oh yeah, well, we talked about it as a team, and we talked about it, with management, the cheerleaders, and all the tailgaters in the parking lot. Decided he wasn't going to play. What did Barkley have to say about it? The only thing I heard from Barkley was, I'm taking one for the team, so to speak. No one ever, I didn't hear anybody step up and say, Barkley wants the rushing title and God damn it, we're going to go get it. Or Barkley doesn't really give a crap about the rushing title, so we're going to sit him.
Andrew.
I never heard that. It was all like, oh yeah, we asked the cheerleaders and they decided he really shouldn't play.
Okay, well, let me say this. Now, when you say rushing title, you're talking of the season or the all-time record?
All time.
Okay, there you go. Because he got the rushing title for the season.
No, I'm talking about Dickerson's record.
That's different. That's the all-time rushing.
Right.
I know. And I never heard from the Eagles what Barkley wanted or not.
Yeah, he got screwed, and that's a typical Nick the Dick Sirianni move.
And Barkley was classy about it because he was asked his game about it.
He absolutely was. But I wanted to hear from him. And if I'm the head coach, I would have gone to him and said, what do you want to do? And if he just said, I want the rushing title, and he gets 1 yard over Dickerson's rushing title and breaks an ankle and is out for the playoffs.
102. He needed
next man up. I mean, you just cheat the game when you do crap like that. Yeah. And I just thought Sirianni pissed all over that. Really pissed me off.
Yeah, well, and he knows now that's gone because now he's got to start over. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And how are you going to do that when the running back window is not very long anymore?
Not very long.
Interesting. Andrew says, Wayne, you're a mean-looking brother on TV. Yeah, wait till you talk about the refs. Wow. Exactly, Ed. 14 versus 17 games had a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Andrew. I was looking just how I felt at that moment. But
the Saints went into Tampa Bay and got beat up by the Bucs. I think Tampa Bay was going to win this regardless of what Atlanta did, but they kept their 1-game lead and extended that. And now they're the number 3 seed in the playoffs, and they will host the Washington Commodores.
And they made sure Mike Evans got his record.
Exactly. Which is a little bit easier for a receiver, but you're not risking as much injury than, doing the tush push kind of thing. But it was good that he got that. Mike Evans, he's going to come up in the Hall of Fame conversation. He's got a bunch of people in front of him, but it'll be interesting after his 5 years are up as to who else maybe has gotten in, and whether Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne are still out there and that kind of stuff. Houston went into Tennessee and beat the Titans. Not a huge deal there. Texans got the win. They needed that win, guys. They've been a little shaky the last couple of weeks. They've got some confidence now, but I'll tell you what, they don't want anything to do with the Chargers this week. Of all the teams that Houston could have hosted from a wild card standpoint, the Chargers is not their number one team. I can assure you that.
Yeah,
They would have much rather had Pittsburgh or Denver, I'm sure.
No, actually, they were going to get the Chargers or Denver for the most part.
Well, no, but I'm saying that if they'd had a choice between those three, and I agree with you that with the way the math was working, they were not. But had there been an opportunity, they probably would have preferred Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh not scoring enough points. But the Chargers are putting up a lot of points, so Texans better bring their A game. They might also be one and done. San Francisco got beat by the Angry Birds Southwest, guys. This is a 23-point beatdown by the Cardinals. There's a lot going on in San Francisco right now. They can whine and complain all they want to about injuries and blah, blah, blah. I think Shanahan's the problem. I think he's been the problem since he lost the Super Bowl as the OC in Atlanta. But nobody listens to us.
Wow.
We're not paid about that. But I think the 49ers have some soul searching to do in the offseason.
Shanahan is like Harbaugh. I'm sorry, there, Wayne.
No, go ahead, man.
Like Harbaugh is that he's got like a 5-year FU window.
Yeah.
After a while, it goes in one ear and out the other, and it's like yeah. So I think that he might have reached his shelf life in San Francisco, and it's up to the former safety of the Buccaneers, John Lynch. Thank you.
Yeah, Lynch.
It's up to Lynch to figure out whether he wants to keep. Now, I think he's safe for another year, but if they have another lackluster year next year,
because the whole thing with the 49ers is that they've either been in the playoffs going to the championship game, or they've missed the playoffs entirely. So it's feast or famine in San Francisco. So I don't know.
It kind of seems like, what do they call it? That Super Bowl hangover going on. You kind of said it.
Yeah. And and we ended up with the Cardinals team that was an average 8-9, which is kind of what we expected out of the Cardinals. They were in it mid-season, kind of fell off. I don't know where they're going to go during the off season, but when you're 8-9 and you kind of met expectations, that doesn't say a lot about.
A lot of good golf in Arizona, though.
They're going to get an early start on that.
Yeah.
Seattle went to LA, beat the Rams. It's the game the Rams didn't have to win. Rams could have gotten the number 3 seed, maybe, had they beaten Seattle and Tampa Bay, beat, New Orleans, and the Falcons. Angry Birds fell off the face of the earth, and there was an earthquake in Taiwan. But, Seattle ends up going nowhere. They got the win, but all that really matters is the Rams going to get a home game for the playoffs.
Definitely so. And who are they facing?
Minnesota.
Them Vikes. Yeah,
Vikings. Yeah.
So that should be an interesting to watch right there.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that.
Teacher versus student.
The Chargers went into Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. You guys were there. Anything going on in that game we need to know about?
Oh, go ahead, Wayne.
Well, listen.
We're 23 minutes into a 1-hour show, Wayne. You got 40 minutes.
Okay. That's okay. But look, let's just start with, the Chargers played their starters, which was already like, okay, what's really going on? Yeah. But the atmosphere in the room, messages that I was getting was like, well, there's bonuses on them winning this game. And that's incentive, as if they needed some more playing us. Yeah. But the Zebras, and that's why, Andrew, you saw me looking like I was looking. I had to pop off on the field judge for his incompetency in throwing that yellow flag out there. And I get it. He may have been a rookie. I don't really know anything about him, but it was just to a point where I couldn't keep my mouth shut, and my emotions got the best of me. So him and I had a little shouting match there.
Is that right? Tell us.
I was doing most of the shouting, but you know, and I let him know I'm watching what you're doing. And you know,
you're
so
watching with authority on what he's doing.
Yeah,
you're not just watching. You got some background now on how all this crap works.
Yeah, how it works, right? So he goes and tells the white hat, goes and describes him to me. So the white hat kind of turns around and looks, and I'm telling both of them, "Come on, get some.
Come and get some.
Come on, get some." So that was, you know, I lost my voice, and that just set the mood for me for the rest of that game, man. It was ridiculous. Right in the corner where I'm at. So I'm like, dude, are you blind? I asked one of the security guys on the field, can I borrow your glasses and send them to him so he can see the damn, you know, anyway, it was one of those, man.
Well, I can assure you, Carl Sheffers didn't want anything to do with you. That's for sure.
He definitely looked like, well, yeah, you glad. Probably told him, you glad you're not in Oakland.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's good that you gave him hell. We need some people out there. We need some knowledgeable people out there that know how to do that. Wayne, what was your perspective on this game? I'm sorry, Cap.
Oh, well, I was just, and now honestly, the officiating sucked.
Yeah.
And but they played a better game than us.
Yes.
After you figured out that you were going to get bent over without benefit of KY.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Yeah.
At that point, mentally, it's like, why? We're here. We were playing well.
It's like Cocoa Puffs up a straw, man.
Right. And but the thing that really sucked was giving them that touchdown right before halftime.
Yeah.
Right at that point, it was like, all right, we're going to get your ass. And then they cut. Like with about 30 seconds to go, I believe.
Something like that.
And that was a backbreaker, a ball breaker, and a gut punch all rolled into one.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of set the tone for the and unfortunately, normally I watch them when they go off the field, but I was already on my way out to hang out with Rock's father and almost killed myself walking over about five layers to get to him. But you could tell that there was it was kind of like when you hear see Jamarcus coming in the second half on the game when they took out the bald-headed quarterback that was our quarterback. That game I told you about, where you just feel the whole pressure of the stadium being sucked out.
Yeah.
It was demonstrative, and you could tell that. We played well, but after seeing that we were going to get effed without benefit of the KY.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sucked after that.
Yeah.
And the officiating sucked. And I wish I was closer. I mean, I'm stuck in the end zone, so they don't normally see me as I'm about 5 rows back. But if they were ever in my area, I would have given them, and I do as I can, give them an earful.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm not at that level where I'm like ground level like Wayne is. I'm just some old dude, dressed up and just another motherfucker. Sorry, in the stands. Whereas Wayne has, I'm surprised when he did this. He said, "No, I
No, he didn't know what I was, but dude, I was willing to take one for the team. So I wouldn't
exactly.
Long as the field security didn't tell me to shut the hell up,
That's
which
right.
it wouldn't have mattered because I'm already I got the valve on all the way open, and this young kid, brother, when he smirked when I called him zebra. He cut it. I'm like, don't ignore me. You hear me. And that was a BS call.
Yeah.
So same play on the same corner, this same guy, there was a no call when the Charger guy was acting like a cape on Superman on our receiver.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So he's kind of smirking when he went over there. And I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I just let him have it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, the mentality is, it's like, you know what? It's gonna be a flag on those bastards, but it's not gonna be a flag for the chosen protectorate.
And why is that? Because they're not going to get downgraded.
Damn right.
Absolutely, that part. Yeah.
In fact, you probably get a playoff spot. You
Yeah.
know, but
Fuck.
yeah, I don't blame you. So while we're on the topic of the Raiders, we don't we could spend hours and days and weeks and months and years talking about
Decades.
this. But there's a lot of chatter out there. AP's gone. Everybody knows that. There's a lot of disarray, a lot of discord, so to speak. Not maybe so much in the locker room, but there's just always some of that swirls around. A lot of speculation going on there about the Raiders. So, without getting into the millions of nuances and wandering off into the weeds, because we do got some playoff games we're going to cover. Let's go do a short roundtable. Cap, you go first. Tell us, give us your current state of the Raiders in your opinion, and where you think they should go, could go for draft or personnel moves, and if you have a head coaching preference, let us know what it is.
Not per se a preference, but I do have people that talk to me and who have been right in the past. I won't name sources because intelligence people don't name sources, but people that have been reliable in the past. The one guy got really bent that AP was gone after his year, and I will just say that his views are it was a racial thing. But a lot of times his views are about race. And I'm honest, folks. I don't care what color AP is. Black, white, yellow, Asian, Hispanic. It's about the ability.
Yeah.
And he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And he didn't have the people that were helping him out the way that they should have been helping him out.
I agree with you on that front. I would have cut all or most of those people out of the picture and said, AP, let's run your own show.
Yeah, and I said he didn't have it again. Skin color notwithstanding. That's why I said, if you're going to go on that, he had a year and a half to get his shit right, whereas Mayo only had the 1 year. I would have given Mayo some time to groom into that. Then I would have fired him halfway through next year if I didn't see any improvement. The other thing is my source, the other source says, and it has been put out in the press, that the Raiders waited to fire AP. I actually thought that when he did that press conference, okay, well, he's good, because the Raiders fired the coach the very next day, if not on the field, a la Jack, what's-his-nose in San Diego.
Yes.
Yeah, he was fired on the field by Pacquiao shit because we got Gruden coming in. Okay, Del Rio was gone. That's the way the Raiders do it. They don't waste time. So when he trotted out for the Monday presser, I said, okay, they're going to give him another year. And then they fired him Tuesday, which was surprising. My source says, though, and it's been put in the paper, it's because the Raiders have been talking to two candidates. And my source confirmed that the guy that they're talking to is Mike Vrabel. Whether it happens or not remains to be seen. The two that it's in the press is it's Vrabel or Pete Carroll, which is fine. At least these guys have pedigree. They might not be the greatest, but they are coaches with pedigree, with experience, and are decent. They're decent coaches. You're going to get a lot more out of these guys than you are with a alleged retread or a new guy, a la Cohen for the Bucks. If you're gonna have great things, I do that. Dan says Todd Monken. That wouldn't be a bad thing. The guys are the coordinators. That would be okay. He's going to be the next guy. But then you run the risk of getting a Norv Turner, a great coordinator, and a shitty head coach. That's what you want to guard against. But that's my source says that it is Mike Vrabel, which makes sense with Brady in Mark Davis's ear. Whether it happens or not, you make me see. But he did say it's going to be done by Friday. So you're about he said with Tomlin being possibly available. If they do that, like it's going to be done by Friday, then that puts everybody
It can't be Tomlin if they want to do it by Friday. The Steelers.
That's what I'm saying. So if it is done by Friday, all of these, could be this guy, this guy, this guy. No, it's going to be somebody who's already been out this year or is available on the table, a la Vrabel or what's his nose, Pete Carroll.
Before we get to Wayne, before we get to your analysis and preferences if you have any. Daniel's comments is, what about Todd Monken, the head coach? As a head
Well,
coach at OC, he's put up a lot of good numbers at Georgia, I guess, right?
Yeah.
oh yeah, definitely.
I think it depends on who. I don't know if he's head coach material, but that's an interesting thought on OC, depending on who the head coach is. But Wayne, give us your take on the Raiders.
Well, like I say, man, to piggyback off what Cap was saying, I've heard some stories and rumors myself. I think this whole Vrabel thing, especially with New England trying to court him back too, it just depends on it's going to be a bidding war basically on who can give him the most.
Yep.
Now, like I said, the jury's still out. Like I said, you're hearing the Todd Munkins, the Ben Johnsons. Now,
Johnson's not.
I don't
Johnson's
think. Yeah,
not. Johnson's a good coach. He's not Raiders cultural material, not because of him, but because of us. That's just not a
that
good
part.
fit.
And so I wanted to commend AP on actually making us feel like the culture had returned. So it gave us hope on looking ahead to the future.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. They've got a lot of pressure because to get even the second tier quarterbacks, there's got to be a coach there who can develop that kid. Otherwise, we're back in the revolving door again. So like I say, it's been 2 decades of mediocrity, to be nice, mediocrity, and the fan base is as split as I've seen it in years over this. And some fans are just giving up hope that they'll never right this ship. So this whole TB12 and Richard Seymour, who they don't really mention as, minority owner, but I hope that they have a voice in there of the pieces that they need to go out and acquire to right this ship, man, because time's really running out on this franchise. To stay relevant. Like I say, we've been the laughing stock of the league for 2 decades now, and it's just time for us to become relevant, if nothing else, then acquire playoff aspirations.
Yeah. I'm not a huge Mike Vrabel fan, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a choice. I mean, I know there's been a lot of chatter out there about different folks. We haven't heard much chatter about the potential for college coaches yet, although Daniel's point about Mokins is an interesting one, so I'm not really sure who they're looking at. But
Monken is the OC for Baltimore.
Yes.
So
Baltimore. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I said Georgia. Sorry, that's because that's because of Bennett and Bowers.
Right. He has that pedigree from being at UGA, which is why he got the job.
Well, and that's a good point, Cap. Baltimore number 3 in scoring with 518 points. There's only 4 teams. 1, 2, 1, 2. There's only 4 teams that scored 500 points. Washington came close, but Detroit at 564, Buffalo at 525, Baltimore at 518, and Tampa Bay at 502. So putting up 500 points obviously is going to put you in the playoffs. But that'd be an interesting one. I mean, Baltimore's got a lot to work with. They got an MVP quarterback. They got a potential MVP running back. They got a lot of stuff going on there. You can't just transplant that and expect the Raiders to start scoring, 480 points. But I'm not a huge Vrabel fan. I think it fits from Brady's perspective for all the reasons why they like the Patriots culture. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the pick. I think that's the most comfortable pick. But I think that AP would have probably, if I were owner, I would have struggled with bringing AP back or not, because I'm an AP fan.
Yes.
But when you put him in perspective, and I realize he doesn't have as much to work with, so it's not really a dig on AP. But when you look at the profile of the other coaches in the division, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and then AP, it's kind of like which Muppet didn't show up, for the broadcast, because it just doesn't seem to fit. Doesn't mean he's a bad coach or doesn't understand the Raiders or the culture and all that sort of stuff, or doesn't run in his blood. But, the other divisions are all pomp and circumstance, which we don't have to buy into. But I just think that in Brady's mind, Vrabel's probably one that can fit in, if you will, with the rest of those coaches. Obviously, hasn't won a bunch of Super Bowls, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't won any Super Bowl. But I just think I wouldn't be surprised if that's a pick. I think what I'll be interested in is what the rest of his staff's going to look like if he is the pick. I don't think Ben Johnson's the pick for Detroit. I like him. I think he could be a very good head coach. I just don't think it'll be with us. I think it'll be with somebody else. I think the Jets really should be where he wants to go. If the Jets really want to make a move in the AFC East, he should go to New York. Not that anybody wants to go to New York.
Ed has an interesting comment here about Mr. Sanders and his kid coming, and I'm hearing rumors to that nobody's really pushing it out front, but that could be an X factor in itself right there.
Here's the thing. I don't disagree with all that, Wayne, but I weigh every rumor out there against Tom Brady, which is why Belichick's not leaving North Carolina to go be the head coach of the Raiders. He is not going to go work for Tom Brady. And so when I see all this, obviously, Brady will be a Hall of Famer, but Deion Sanders is a Hall of Famer. Those are two egos that are not going to fit in the same room. So they can chatter about Deion Sanders. He's not going to be the head coach. This is going to be somebody that Brady wants to give enough rope to, but not too much.
Not too much.
And because it's at the end of the day, it's going to be, it's what I want. But that he wants to trust the head coach enough that he can give him 24.9 feet of that 25-foot rope. And Deion Sanders is going to take 36 feet of that 25-foot rope. Bill Belichick's going to burn the rope and go, ew. So this is going to be a situation where, Brady's not going to hire in above his capability. And I think that's a problem. I think he should. And I just don't think he will. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if it's Vrabel. Because a coach like Johnson from Detroit could take our franchise to the Super Bowl if you give him the responsibility to do that. I just don't think Brady's going to give up enough control for that to actually happen. So I think we're going to get a step down, if you will. We're not going to get a Mike Tomlin. We're not going to get all that other stuff because I just think it's Brady's just – I could be wrong. I just think Brady's going to be a little blinders on there, and I think it's going to hurt us in the long run.
And one more name that you can think of that fits along the lines of who Brady would, and again, I'm sorry, it's not all about Brady, but remember, it's Brady and Seymour.
Yeah.
Because Seymour's given input as well. The Vrabel thing works because of that, but I will say this. Think of another name as Brian Flores, because Brian Flores was up in New England as well, and he has all of the things that you would want. And, he's a defensive-minded coach who can possibly, and he's going to need a strong OC, though. But Flores is a guy that people will go to as well, and he fits that Patriot.
How would he be any different than AP in that regard, though?
Well, at least he has head coaching experience.
For 10 minutes. Yeah. I mean, I've been a ref for 10 minutes, and, I didn't work any Super Bowl, but.
Flores had a full season, if not two, in Miami.
I know. I'm just messing with you a little bit.
I think he kind of got run out of town there, too.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. That's for a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons. Yeah. Look at the name up here in the comments, Bruce Arians.
Well, I mean, there's a guy that may be too old for school, but you can't argue with this offensive prowess.
That's that.
But you know what? The problem with Arians wouldn't be that he's not good enough for the job. But I think Brady's gonna come exactly, and Brady's gonna come back and look. We had Marvin Lewis, we had North Turner, another Turner, and 16 other Turners, and we had all these clowns around AP. Didn't win a damn thing, and they're not going to bring in Bruce Arians for the same reason.
Gotcha.
Couple comments in there. Ed says he sees Johnson in Chicago. I agree. I think Johnson could go to Chicago. I think he could go somewhere else. I think he goes to Minnesota. If Minnesota coach goes somewhere else, but I don't know. I like Cap's analysis of Chicago, so I don't know if Johnson goes there, but I wouldn't be surprised out of spite just because the Bears want to make a move in the division, and who knows Detroit better than Johnson at this point.
Right.
And Richard J's comment, Johnson will not come there. I think he means to the Raiders. I totally agree.
Yeah.
that's just not going to work. And I think there's going to be folks out there like Johnson who are going to say, I would love to be head coach of the Raiders. I could fix that franchise, but I got to report to Tom Brady. And I just think that's a headwind that's going to, I don't know. I just don't like that headwind.
You said it narrows the
I think it does.
The pool, so to speak.
And I think it narrows it short of what it should be. And I could be wrong. Brady may put his ego check it at the door and go, I want the best guy for the job. Well, that's Belichick, but that's not going to happen. So where do you go from there? If it's not a guy that you won 6 Super Bowls with, then who is it?
And
I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
Brian Flores is way more experienced than AP. Well, I agree with that. Both as head coach in DC, as the Viking defense. Yeah. We talked about Flores before. We talked about Flores last year, or even when AP had his half season, that Flores might be in the conversation. Again, nothing wrong with Brian Flores. You guys can talk about his resume till we turn purple, but you turn around and you look at the wall behind you that has Andy Reid, Sean Payton, John Harbaugh, and of course they all have what looks to be franchise quarterbacks, and I just don't think someone like Flores makes the cut.
Well, it's
because I don't think the Raiders want to look at defense. I know Belichick's defense, but mostly. But I think the Raiders want offense, and I think they're going to look for somebody
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're letting Patrick Graham walk basically. And
pretty much.
I'm not saying there are better defensive coordinators out there, but it's a short list if it is. And if you're going to let him walk, then you're obviously not focused on defense at this point, so to speak.
Well, Robert Saleh's out there if you want a good defense.
I agree with you on that front.
Right.
Probably slightly better than Patrick Graham. I'm not really a Saleh fan either. But
he got railroaded with the Jets, and Robert Saleh is a solid defensive guy. Pete Carroll is a solid defensive guy, although, he's got a shelf life. It just depends upon the Raiders, I think, are going to go offense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so too.
But if you're going to go with the Brady familiarity, Vrabel and Flores fit the bill. If you want to go offense, think of Liam Cohen over there in fake Pirate Land.
Yeah.
And what he did with
Baker.
With Baker Mayfield, the guy who can't figure out the combo to the Cleveland Stadium. I mean, there are guys out there.
I think if there's a surprise head coach pick, it's going to be Byron Leftwich.
I'd stomp for Byron and left.
That's a good one, Ref. Yeah, and nobody's talking about Byron. You're right.
The guy's damn good.
Yeah.
So if you want a little bit of splash and some sprinkles on your ice cream, I would bring him in to talk to him and say, what's the rest of your staff going to look like, and what's your philosophy?
Yeah.
Right. And if he gives me the right answers for those, I'll be like, hey, Vrabel can go wherever he wants to. Vrabel, I don't even know if Vrabel goes to New England, if that's going to be a success story or not.
That's what I say. It's going to be a bidding war there because, Mr. Kraft is going to just show him, hey, here's an open check.
But here's Kraft's problem. He's going to trade. He's going to trade a former Patriot for a former Patriot. I mean, and then you've got a black former Patriot to a white former Patriot. That just looks bad, ugly all over the place. And I agree with Cap and Wayne. You know that as well too. There's no such thing as color. That's just stupid shit. And I'm just going to call it that for what it is. It's stupid shit.
It is.
And you know my 8th grade school bus story, so where I am on that issue. But I just think that looks ugly bad in New England to do that. And I just think the optics are bad.
Yeah, bad.
I would question myself even trying to make that decision. Even if you didn't want it to be a thing, there's just some optics that are just make it a thing, even if we don't want it to be a thing. And the people can rave about it, but I don't know. I'm not saying he wouldn't do it, but I think New England's in a tough spot right now. And I agree with Cap. Mayo just got, for Robert Kraft to get up there and say we put Mayo in a bad position, then fix it. Don't tell him you set him up to fail and then throw him under the bus.
Yeah.
That's if you're going to get up there and admit that you set him up to fail, then fix it so he can succeed.
Right.
How do you? I did not understand that at all, Wayne.
How
How do you get up there and say, well, we set him up to fail? Well, that's okay. So you own that, Kraft. You owned it. Then fix it so he can succeed. But if he's not your guy, well, then say that. But you can't. It just seemed like he wanted it both ways. Like Kraft gets up there and says, "Oh, I set him up to fail, but I'm not going to fix it so he can succeed. I'm just going to let him go." Well, then he wasn't your guy to start with. So just get up there and say, "We made a mistake." Well, you can't do that for all the reasons we just talked about. So it's forked up.
Like a stopgap guy.
Yeah, we've got ourselves into this mess, and I don't know how we're going to get out of it. But anyway, we'll see where the Raiders go. Cap, you pretty solid on the Raiders making a decision by Friday?
That was what the source said.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just curious because if that's the case, and I don't know who else it could be besides Vrabel, because they want somebody in there then that's going to take, again, 29.9 feet of that 25-foot rope, but can hit the ground running, and I don't know who else could do that at this point. It's not going to be someone can't hit the ground running at this point that's not been a head coach before.
And they don't have the luxury of time, too.
That's right.
With the draft looming. So
yeah. And I don't think Vrabel's really that big of an upgrade, quite frankly, when you compare him to the other coaches in the division. I don't think that's that big of an upgrade, quite frankly. I don't know what the Raiders' discussions were about what AP's strengths and weaknesses are. I certainly would have had more than a few conversations about AP from the way he presented himself and the way that he said we were going to do things, and then I didn't see that. But again, I just think AP had too much input, right? He wanted Marvin Lewis and North Turner and whoever, what the guy from the Giants, Coughlin. He had all these guys allegedly around him that, won 42 Super Bowls, is supposed to be a help. And I don't think it was a help at all. I think his compass had 368 points to it, and there was no way to determine which way was north.
But I think
Gruden could come in right now and turn stuff around. Yeah.
I just saw that comment. Yeah. I'm thinking they're going for a 2-for-1 because they need to take care of head coach and OC. So I think they're looking for a combination.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. And you know what? The only problem with Gruden, he would come back because he wants to coach.
Yeah.
And he would accept it because he's rabid about coaching. Only 15 minutes later to go, now I got to work for Tom Brady. The guy that fumbled me out of the playoffs, I don't know, man. I don't see it. As much as Mark Davis is pounding on Tom Brady's door, bring Gruden back, Brady's going to be like, no, it's not going to work.
Well, if Gruden is the head coach, and I say this, and this is a straight face, he better have a good effing offensive coordinator, because John Gruden's offense is Spider 2 wide banana bullshit went out about 25 years ago. Okay.
Exactly. And it was good 25 years ago, but not now.
He can game manage a lot better than those other people, but he better bring an offensive guy, just like Dan Campbell's mentality, where he stays his foot on the effing gas and doesn't leave up when you're ahead by 15 points. You can get more points, damn it.
Exactly.
Gruden didn't do that either time.
Exactly. And this is exactly. And Cap, you know why that's spot on? Because look at the Kansas City Chiefs after they lost Bieniemy. They're not scoring any points. And this is the same issue. Andy Reid is the same type of coach. He wants to turn over 97% of the offense to the OC, but on game day, he wants this tweak. He wants that screw in a little bit tighter. At halftime, he's going to get in there and go, "Oh, sorry, we're in the ladies' locker room." I mean, he's going to do the little stuff the game, and that's what Gruden was. So you're right. Gruden needs a strong OC. I don't know if there's one out there that would work for Gruden, given all his baggage, but I wouldn't be interested if I were a Raiders owner. I wouldn't be interested in bringing Gruden back to the Raiders as much as I might like to. And as much as I'd like to stick it to Park Avenue, I just think that that's a fire starter that's not worth the headache, quite frankly. Anyway, so let's see. All right,
so we're right back to square one.
Kind of. You know what? And I think that's why the Raiders probably settle, if you will, on Vrabel.
Yeah.
Low profile, doesn't rock the boat, going to bring stability, going to bring, some of that Patriots way, blah, 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 blah. But if Vrabel would be successful to get the quarterback, to get an OC and a DC, okay, we might make some noise in the AFC West, but until Andy Reid retires, look, the Chiefs own us. They own everybody at this point. So
I agree with Ozzy on this one. You get Gruden with Robert Saleh as the DC, effing sign me up if it's that combination. But again, Gruden needs something plus in his offense, okay?
Well, bring in Baltimore's OC then.
Well, but Baltimore's OC ain't going to go and do a lateral transfer to be here.
Unless he likes Las Vegas over Baltimore.
Well, it depends on what his contract status.
But yeah. Well, and again, I still think everything that happens going forward will be the persons that they want to hire essentially are going to ask themselves, do I want to work for Tom Brady?
Wow.
I just think that's such a problem right now. I could be reading way too much into it, but I just think that's a huge problem at this point. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll definitely
I was listening to Brady,
and
I haven't sat down with Tom Brady. I haven't been able to ask him any questions, vet anything. This is all my personal opinion. But when I'm listening to him on these broadcasts, guys, he is extraordinarily, and he won 6 Super Bowls. So you expect him to be at the nitpicking son of a bitch that you expect a quarterback that's going to win 6 championships. But he's nitpicking the Jesus Christ hell out of these teams. And I'm just thinking that, do I want to work for somebody who's going to nit out of every goddamn game plan that I'm going to put out there as head coach? You're going to go out there and execute that. And he goes, well, you didn't do this. You got to do this. You can't do that here. You got to, I just think it could be a nightmare. So I don't know.
To be continued.
I wouldn't want to be a head coach. I wouldn't want to be a head coach under Tom Brady. If Mark Davis came to my garage and said, all right, I know you could fix the Raiders. I know you could win 6 Super Bowls in a row. I just need you to tell me what you want. My first answer would be Tom Brady needs to shut up. If you can't do that, there's no deal. Wayne, I wouldn't even take the job now. If Mark Davis himself said, you know what, I'm going to make you owner. I'm going to put in my will and testament that you'll own every cent that I own of the Raiders, the 51% or whatever the hell it is. But you're stuck with everything else. Tom Brady's there. I'm not doing it. I just don't like him. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just don't think he's a football administrator. If he's going to start sticking his nose into everything, I think we got problems. That's my soapbox. Miami went into New York and got beat by the Jets. A lot of people think might have been Aaron Rodgers' last game. If it was, his last pass was a touchdown. Not the way he wanted to go out in New York, but not a bad way to go out.
Yeah, and I think out is the optimal word there. I don't see him returning because we've seen the regression with his career. He's prime, he's peaked, and he's on that downward slide. I just, and all the controversy with Saleh being released was partly on him with that. So that's going to be a hard one to put in any organization right about now in his career. So
Ed's asking me how I really feel about Tom Brady, and again,
how do you really?
It's just my opinion. It's only my opinion. I don't know him. I've never met him. I'd love to meet him. I'd love to sit down. I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to, ask him all these questions so I get a better understanding of where his head is at. But he doesn't come across as I think he comes across as somebody that wants to win, and championships is the only thing that matters. Yeah. But this is still a people business,
absolutely.
And his relationship with Belichick is the only football relationship really that he has, and the only experience that he has. I know he was probably involved in maybe some personnel decisions and all that, the playbook and some stuff like that, but I don't know. All right. The Minnesota Vikings went into Michigan to take on the Wildcats, guys. You know, we said last week nobody wants anything to do with the Detroit Lions this week. Minnesota got the short straw, but this game meant something. This game was about the first round bye. It was about the NFC North Championship. It was about a lot of things. Minnesota basically got their ass handed to them. This is a 22-point win by the Lions, and now Minnesota's a wild card and headed to LA.
They did.
But wasn't that? Go ahead, man.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just semantically. No, semantically, basically, you effed up that adverb, adjective, whichever one it is.
Probably.
There was no basically there. They got their asses handed to them. But the score was a lot closer than the game really was.
Really was. But wasn't that also like some get back from Minnesota knocking them out the year before?
Yeah.
That's the way I was looking at the game. It was like a personal thing. And you talk about piling on the points. They didn't slow down a bit. They were just like, hey, we got scraps on the table. Let's lick it up. Let's don't leave nothing.
Yep. I've got a issue here I'm dealing with, guys. I got to multitask here for a minute. But in any case, you know, again, this was not a game Minnesota was going to win. I know Minnesota's 14-2, and they're proud of that, blah, blah, blah. They're playing good football, blah, blah, blah. And they're number 9 in scoring, blah, blah, blah. They're doing everything that you would expect a team to make the playoffs to do. But if you want to go out there and punch them in the mouth, you can do that, and the Vikings are vulnerable. I don't know that the Rams have that this week, but I don't think it would have mattered. If Detroit had gone to LA, they'd still beat the Rams. The problem is now Minnesota doesn't get a home game throughout this whole process.
Exactly.
And Detroit's got the number 1 seed, the week off, get some people healthy, and then we'll figure out who they're going to play. But I just don't think there's anybody left in the NFC. It's going to keep the Lions out of the Super Bowl at this point.
Get your kneecaps bitten off.
The success that Green Bay has had in the past, and Tampa Bay's had in the half, and Minnesota would like to have, just not sure there's enough out there. Although the Eagles would probably give them the best game, but honestly, if you shut down, there's 2 ways to stop the Eagles. You stop Barkley, and you stop number 11, and you're done. And then the Eagles really don't have much else. But anyway, any other comments about the Michigan Wildcats?
That, like I said, that was just a personal beat down to me. I'm looking at this question here from Daniel. Will Crosby stay in Vegas after what's happening? Who knows?
Yep.
Because I've seen some possible trade rumors with him, with his name. So
well, I think when it gets to this point in the season, there's nothing else to talk about, right? Because the regular season's over for a lot of folks, and so everybody's jockeying for, what the next position is going to be. But all right, everybody, close the books on Week 18. The regular season is over. The 2024 playoffs. Playoffs begin on Saturday. Game 1, 1:30 Pacific time on CBS. The Chargers are going to go into Houston to take on the Texans. I'll tell you what, the Texans better bring their A game. They're good enough to beat the Chargers, but I don't think they're going to get it done. If the Chargers want to beat you, they can. I think the Chargers drew probably the best draw they could get. If they want to get a playoff win, of course, they got to do it on the road. Yeah. And I think their defense is a little suspect for them to go much further past the wild card round. I think this is evenly matched on paper, but I'm actually going to take the Chargers on the road.
I actually took the Chargers myself because of coaching differences.
Coaching.
Come on, Tate. Talk about it.
When you got DeMeco Ryans as your head coach, and he's just hungry. He's hungry.
Yes.
So, by the way, the uniforms, those ghastly red uniforms that they wore on that, as long as they don't wear those bastards again, we're going to win. Because those red uniforms were such eye distraction. Well, maybe they might need that against that Gargler defensive line. Because by the way, did you see how many times that Bosa lined up all sides
All
against
sides. Yes.
And surprisingly, the officials were calling that, which amazed my buddy Captain, because they don't call shit on the Chargers, but they called it like 1, 2, or 3 times in a row.
I think it was
I'm
3.
Yeah, and you know what? I was like, okay, well, there you go. They're doing it now, so when they really need it, they don't have to say, well, we gave you those calls earlier. We're gonna F you.
And when he didn't jump offside, Tex, DJ Glaze was handling him like a rag doll.
Damn right. So all you people that were all pissed off about, we missed out on Fuaga to have what should be the rookie of the year and Brock Bowers, go pack Sam. Okay. But getting back to the good old boys down in Houston. I think it's gonna be a really good game.
Could be.
It's a matter of if the boys in Houston can take care of the bullshit that would come into the. I didn't say it. I almost said it. But if they can take care of that, I think they win in a squeaker. But
wow.
I can see the Chargers. They don't tell anybody. I can see them winning. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be a better game than those other boys going from the AFC West that don't wear red, going in and freezing their choo-choos off up in Buffalo. That's me.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Don't forget that officiating wise, we're in split crew season now. All right. So the Land Clark is the referee for the game against the Chargers and Texans. He brings a couple folks from his crew, but the rest of his crew are from different crews. So I've never been a fan of mixed crews, but the NFL seems to think they want to put their, quote, best people out there. The problem is these folks haven't worked together. And for the most part, they've been able to get by with this. At some point, there's going to be somewhere along the way, there's going to be a mistake. And I think the whole question of, how viable or successful mixed crews is going to come into question. So far, the NFL's been able to dodge that bullet. But it's a pretty experienced crew, 96 years overall combined officiating. And I think it'll be a pretty well officiated game. He's got a good line judge, a good umpire, and some good experience down the field. So I think it'll be a good game. I think it's a tribute to the work that Land Clark has put in to get a wild card game. Remember, the folks that work the wild card round they've now received a playoff assignment, but they're one and done. The Super Bowl crew will come from next week's lineup. So we'll want to take a good look at who the referees are and the rest of the crews are for next week. And then the championship folks are kind of the same. They're one and done, but the championship games are obviously elevated playoffs. So that's a little bit better feather in your cap than a wild card game. But making the playoffs is still pretty good. So our officials for the weekend, Land Clark, Alex Kemp, Bill Vinovich, Brad Allen, Craig Rolstad, and John Hussey.
Hussey can suck out Houston,
Well, he's going to be in L.A. He may be sucking a bunch of bad air, too, if they don't move that game to Arizona.
That's true.
There you go. Bye. There you go, Hussey. I got something for you right down here.
Well, hopefully the winds don't shift, because right now they're kind of like offshore, so it pushes it.
Yeah, if they can push it out over the ocean, they might still be able to do that. But I'm sure the Cardinals would be fine to do that. I mean, it wouldn't be home for the Rams, but it's not a bad place. The Rams have played there before, right?
Yeah,
so they know.
It was a Monday night game. I even remember that the Rams had to go over to Arizona because of fire. So
it's not unprecedented, right?
Yeah.
All right. So from that standpoint, I'm still going to take the Chargers at home. Sorry, I'm dealing with some business here.
No problem.
Stuff going on.
That's okay. I can talk like this for another segment.
Well, let's move on because we've got our picks for that one. So the other Saturday game, Pittsburgh is at Baltimore, 5 p.m. Pacific start. That's on Amazon Prime. So if you don't have Amazon Prime, you're not going to get that one. Alex Kemp, the referee for that. This is going to be more the same. Pittsburgh's going to they're not going to give the Ravens any bulletin board material. They're going to go in there and say, we're going to play Steeler football. We're going to play tough ball. It's going to be, as Wayne would say, it's going to be a paint scraping game, but Pittsburgh's going to get their butt kicked. It might be 17-15, but they're going to get their butt kicked.
I beg to differ. I think this is going to be not a runaway, but Baltimore is going to just outscore Pittsburgh, and that's going to be the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they win the game, by scoring more points, right?
Yeah, they won't be able to keep up, with Baltimore.
No, I don't think so. No. But Baltimore number 3 in scoring with 518 points. Pittsburgh scored 380. So the Steelers just aren't scoring enough points.
Yeah, I mean, they've sucked. I don't need to say it with a Southern accent.
No, you don't.
They've sucked the last 4 games, and they've already, I think, made golf plans. I think the only thing that Pittsburgh has going for it is Boswell at kicker.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's a good point. I mean, if it comes down to the kicking game, Steelers have an advantage there, maybe depending on the weather. But ref's alarm clock rings. Time for business. The cat is calling for some food. Yeah, that's probably true. Although she did eat pretty good before game time. So did somebody hear a cat somewhere? But I'm sorry for all the text messages. There's a lot going on here today. But
gotcha.
But yeah, the cat's in pretty good shape. Thanks for asking, though.
Hey, Ref, is it anybody I know?
Who?
That's giving you text messaging?
Yes.
I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Ed knows him too.
That's exactly what I.
So Cap, you taking the Ravens at home?
Oh yeah. I'm taking the Ravens by probably 20 points.
I don't think anybody's going to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers except maybe people in Pittsburgh. I don't know of anybody that's going to pick the Steelers. They're just not scoring enough points. The first game, they beat the Ravens in the first game, right? It was like, oh, the Ravens got popped in the mouth, and they're like, oh man, we should have shown up with a bigger pair of boxing gloves. Well, when game 2 came around, the Ravens like, okay, we're going to double down on boxing gloves, and then they let them have it. So I just think it's going to be more the same this time. Yeah. All right, Sunday is a triple header. The first one, 10 a.m. Pacific time on CBS. The Denver Broncos are going to go into Buffalo and figure out what real football in the snow is like. You got to appreciate everything that Denver's done to get to where they are, and I think they can call it a good season, but I don't think anybody wants anything to do with Buffalo right now.
This is the time of year where they bring in some extra tables to dive.
Yeah.
Table diving.
Home Depot sold out last Thursday.
Yeah, they probably went over to another state and got some more, but I'm taking Buffalo in this one, man. Denver, like I say, taking nothing from them, and Coach Payton, hats off to him. But this is where the ride ends, right here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd actually like to see what Richie Riche says about that. And here's a plug after our show.
Well, he didn't expect them to win last week, and I didn't understand that. I
told him. I said, "You're wrong, Rich." He said, "Denver's going to win and go to the playoffs."
I think if I recall right, he didn't expect them to win against the Chiefs, but I didn't really understand that because the Chiefs had nothing to play for. By losing, they keep the Bengals out, but that's just an excuse. But I didn't expect them to get blown out 38-0. Yeah. I mean, holy crap! That was a huge surprise. But I did expect Denver to win that one at home against the Chiefs. I just think this week, this is a team that doesn't have the experience. I think Buffalo is hungry. I think they're pissed off that they haven't gotten, what they want out of these games. And I just don't think there's anybody in their way at this point.
Yeah, and well, if you listen to the MHRT network under Mundungus Creevy, love that name, by the way. And he's hit me up yesterday about, how awesome the Broncos are, blah, 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 blah. And then we're going by resumes and all this other stuff. I said, hey, I'll take my 3-2 against your 3-5. And we're talking Super Bowl rings. I said, I think that's a better percentage. But he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, dude, I don't have time for this stuff. I was in the ER. Not for me, but I was in the ER for 6 hours.
Yeah.
today. That's why I didn't do a show with Peggy. By the way, that's tomorrow night, 9:00 Eastern time, 6:00 Pacific. But and I'm like, dude, one and done. Okay, one and done.
Yeah.
And that's it. I said, you made it. Good on you. Good rest your loyals. Hey, at least you beat the Raiders for the first time as in Vegas, and actually as Las Vegas Chiefs. But take that and go, because you're going to get your ass handed to you in Buffalo. It's not going to be about the weather, because you can do weather games, but I don't think you could do Buffalo weather in January weather games.
Here's where it gets interesting though, because Buffalo gets the win at home, then they're going to get the Ravens. Okay. And that's going to be the best game probably of the playoffs, unless Philadelphia goes to Detroit for the championship game. But you know what? If the Chargers beat the Texans, and I guess you could argue even if the Texans beat the Chargers, one of those two teams going to Kansas City. The Texans have a sour taste in their mouth from last time, and I'll tell you what, the Chargers have a game book for how to beat the Chiefs. Chiefs better be ready to play. So we'll see who's going to be the ref for that game against Kansas City and who's going to play that game. But the Chiefs are not. The Chiefs may be the number one seed, but that the AFC Championship game is a long way from going through Kansas City at this point, especially if Buffalo has anything to say about it. And Baltimore's what, half a foot over the end zone line from having beaten the Chiefs themselves. So the Ravens got a playbook for how to beat Kansas City too. So my take is Kansas City, without the help of the officials, Kansas City's not going back to the Super Bowl. It's going to be Baltimore or Buffalo. We'll just have to see who it is.
Thank God.
It
happened. It happened. Thank God. Please, Allah, Yahweh, God, whoever you call the ultimate superior being, please let those bastards in red not get past their first game, because the longer they stay in.
Yes.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you on that front.
The plot thickens.
I agree. Yep. Bill Vinovich is the referee for the Broncos-Bills game.
Man, no Tippy is gone, and after the first round, that's
but but that's not a ding on him. They gave him a playoffs. They gave him a playoff spot, so he gets to keep his streak going. But they've got some other officials. Bill's had his run, if you will, and he's still in the top five. But they've got some other officials that they want to start getting some more playoff experience for. So Bill's going to have to take one for the teams, if you will, this week, and give some of the other officials opportunities to move up. Sean Smith, Brad Rogers, Sean Hockley, some of these guys, Alan Eck. There's going to be some guys that are going to come in to the show, and it's not a knock on Bill. They're not giving him a message of, oh, we need to retire. They've needed him. He has stepped up. He's done a good job. He's got a playoff spot. His legacy is secure. He probably won't work another Super Bowl, but if he doesn't retire, he'll be around for a while, and that's okay.
Good. And like I said, the same thing with John. Bye, Hussey. Hey, you got your playoff gig, but you know what? There you go.
In his case, considering what he's done in the past, in his case,
that's
the only other slap in the face that they could have given him was to have not given him a playoff assignment at all. So by giving him a wild card, they're kind of like saying, you're not quite as good as you think you are.
Thank you.
It's a different message to Bill than it is to John, and the nuances there are clearly not overstated from that standpoint. Game 2 on Sunday, 1:30 Pacific time on Fox. The Green Bay Packers are going to go into Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Brad Allen, the white hat for that game. Guys, this is put up or shut up time for the Packers. They got a long road ahead of them if they want to go to the Super Bowl. They're probably not quite ready for that yet. The Eagles seem to play when they want to. They seem to struggle when they don't want to. I think the bigger question here going into this week is that everybody for Philadelphia going to be healthy enough to beat the Packers.
Right. And this one should be a close one here, because I'm pitting Josh Jacobs versus Barkley. It could end up being that type of a game.
I think Jacobs isn't. We all know that the type of back that Jacobs is.
Yeah.
And if he gets that first hole, look out. But
He's
I
gone.
just don't know if that's going to be there this week against the Eagles. I think there'll be a few runs up in there, but I don't think he's going to have as good a day as Barkley will have. I think the question is, what's the air attack going to look like for Philadelphia? Who's in at quarterback? And can
True.
the Eagles keep it going through the air? If this becomes a shootout, I sort of like Jordan Love on the road, but Philadelphia's a tough place to play. The Eagles are not going away easily. They won a bunch of games this year for a reason. So this is a tough draw for them, but they are playing at home. If you're gonna try to run the ball, run the clock, and not have turnovers, that might work if Pickett or somebody else besides Jalen Hurts has to start. But if Hurts starts, I think the Packers might be in trouble.
I think so too. Remember, this is a reprise of the original game in Brazil. Remember back?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Beginning of the year. Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah. Who won that game and who just launched himself with authority? I think it's going to be about the same. Jacobs with that, and hats off to Josh.
That's a really good point. I'd forgotten about that, and all the Eagles have to do is hang that in the locker room, and I think it'll be over for Green Bay.
That's enough right there. I rewatched that earlier today, man.
That's a good one. Woo. Well,
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I'll tell you what, though, if the Packers, get the team meeting and go, we know how to do this, let's go play, the Eagles might be in trouble. But if the Packers go out there and screw around like they did last week, they get bumped around, they don't execute, they're going to get beat. This is the playoffs.
It's going to be a dandy.
The night game, 5 p.m. Pacific on NBC. Washington going to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucks. Craig Rolstad, the referee for this one. I don't know if out of all the games this week, I'm not sure that there's a matchup that is as close on paper. Not that paper wins any games as this one, but this is a Tampa Bay team, guys. It's number 4 in scoring with 502 points. You can't, as much as Washington matches up, I think, really well with Tampa Bay. The Bucks just seem to be scoring points anytime they want.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks. I think they're on a roll, and it's Baker's just determined to cement his legacy. Also, he was thrown on the scrap heap, bounced around, but like you say, this coordinator has really brought another level from him that we haven't really seen, man.
I agree with all of that. I just think the Commodores are hungry, and I think Tampa Bay's just going to get. I think they're just going to get punched in the mouth. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I just think that in the end, Washington's just going to have a little bit more. What do you think, Cap?
I tell you, I remember, and I can't remember what season it was when the Bucks played Washington. And the kid that was like a rookie at the time, that bounced around the league, and he was with somebody, and Washington was this close to beating them. Okay, I really think that Tampa, and again, because I live here, they're all huffy and puffy about we're doing this, and we're the team that beat Detroit this year, yada yada yada. I just got that feeling. I got a feeling that Tampa's gonna lose. Oh yeah. Throw some Beatles out there because the Commodores are still too hot to trot, and I'm not even going to do that one. I'll throw the Beatles and John Lennon at you. I think Washington wins.
Yeah, I think Washington's going to take a look at those 2 games that Tampa Bay played against Atlanta, and they're going to go. Atlanta's figured out how to beat the Bucks, and I think they'll pull some plays from that. And I just don't trust Tampa Bay's defense, and so the fact that means then that it could be a shootout between Daniels and Mayfield. I just like Washington's effort a little bit more here.
By the way,
they are on the road, so we'll see about that. This is a young Washington team.
I was going to say, if the Raiders don't make that decision by Friday, if you got Cohen out there. That could be your
job interview.
Yeah, the young guy, a la Gruden, when he was 33, that got the Raiders job out in Oakland years ago. Cohen is that guy or that type of guy.
Yep.
And he's an offensive whiz. And if the Raiders are going to go and do something about getting a really good offensive guy and going out on a limb for him, that would be the guy that I would take. And if the Bucks lose, there's your interview right there, guys. If the Raiders have a locked up coach.
I totally agree with you. Yep. Look at this. Washington, I think they 12-5. They lost their 5 games by a total of 41 points. So pretty tight. Tampa Bay was 10-7. They lost their 7 games by a total of 51 points only. So pretty close there. Washington scored 485 points. Tampa Bay 502. So about 30 points there-ish, give or take.
Yeah.
Washington's over-under, in other words, points scored versus points given up, they're plus 94. Tampa Bay at plus 117. Like I said, you can't get a game any closer on paper. I know paper doesn't win games, but I just think that asset-wise, Washington may just have a little bit too much for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay escaped. They won the division outright. They escaped from some games this year that maybe they shouldn't have, and I think this one might be a tough one for them. If they survive this, I don't know how they're going to do. They end up going back to Detroit. That isn't going to end well. So I'm just not sure. Tampa Bay's, if they're not 1 and done, they're 2 and done, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a wild card weekend Monday night game, 5 p.m. ESPN on Monday night. The Vikings are going to go into either LA or Arizona, depending on the Fires, and take on the Rams as the Vikings team that scored all the 9 points last week. Of course, the Rams defense isn't anywhere near what Detroit was. That was a division game, a lot on the line, blah, blah. But this is a Rams team that is a division title winner. They got their game at home. They've earned the right to be there. Although I don't think the Vikings are as good as their 14-3 record or whatever. I don't think the Rams maybe are as good as their 10-7 whatever record. I think the Vikings really are the better team here. Rams playing at home, they'll give the Vikings all they want to. How do you guys see this playing out? I kind of like the Vikings on the road only because I just think they have a little bit better defense.
I'm taking Minnesota on the road because of the balanced attack that they can possibly, unleash on the Rams. That young Rams defense is going to be tested if that offensive Minnesota gives Sam Darnold enough time to cook, as they could say.
Yeah.
And Spencer, hats off to you, shipmate and Bronco fan, my buddy, Bronco guy.
Yeah, what's up, Spencer?
Fellow Navy guy as well. Sorry, you missed us already saying that the Broncos are going to lose in Buffalo, but I caught you up. Okay. Anyway, getting back to the game that we were just talking about, I think the Vikings just have that much more. I said I like the Rams, but I tell you what, if you especially if you bring them out to Arizona, I think it'll get uglier because then you really don't even have that home field. You have that familiarity, right? It's basically a neutral game. I like Minnesota in a about 7, 8 point, not quite 10.
Yeah,
and I'm not one of these guys who does point spreads, a la Nick and Vegas. But I think that Minnesota is at least a touchdown better than the Rams. It'll be worse if you take them to Arizona.
Yeah, it could be a fun one to watch, though. Okay, that said, if Minnesota beats the Rams and Washington beats Tampa Bay, then Minnesota's going to, and assuming Philadelphia wins, Minnesota is going to Detroit, and Washington's going to Detroit. Minnesota's going to Philadelphia. Okay, so if Philadelphia wins, Minnesota wins, and Washington wins, Washington would be the lowest seed left. So they would go to Detroit, be Washington at Detroit, and it would be Minnesota at Philadelphia. That's probably Detroit's best scenario at that point because they can beat Washington, although it'll be a good game. They'll beat Washington. And then there's a chance Minnesota could upset the Eagles, and that would be everything Detroit wants at that point, is that the Vikings come back to the NFC Championship game. Then I think it's on to the Super Bowl. Minnesota just doesn't have enough firepower to beat the Lions.
Wouldn't talk you down yet.
That too. All right. Takes care of week 19. Playoff time.
Yes, sir.
Pretty good time of the year. It was crazy, though, guys. We made it through the regular season. We put some teams on the clock. We didn't miss on anybody that went on the clock.
No.
You know, right? We put Cincinnati on the clock way back when they were still like number 6 in scoring, which was kind of a no-no based on our rule, but they didn't make it. So there you go. So it is what it is. But in any case, we'll be back next week for the divisional round, our week 20 show. Gosh, we've only got 3 or 4 more shows left in the 2024 season, and I can't believe it's gonna go really fast. So we'll see how it plays out. I hope you guys get a chance to watch a little football, and we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah.
I gotta do it. Wayne Mabry, I love you when you're mad, and ref, you're okay for a damn zebra.
Oh, well, gee, thanks. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it, brother.
I got to find where my clip is. I'll try to roll the right one this week. Last week I rolled the wrong. Let's actually try to get it for real. It's a playoffs. I got to get it right.
Yeah,
No turnover. The regular season's done. We can't have turnovers now.
That's it, baby.
Yeah, I love that.
Congrats on that, Spencer. Like I said, Broncos for the first time in a long time. So again, hats off to you, brother. And no, this is not a wig. This is real shit.
It is real, yeah.
Can't wait till we're back there.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate all the comments and your support for our show. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yarr.
Say